Hey everybody, it's the weekend, so we're trying to do a weekly live stream with you guys where we let you guys ask me anything. My wife is joining me. Well, you can't, you just waved.
Oh,
You
hi.
just waved behind the camera. So, hello, this is my wife Jennifer. She's in theory running the chat room right now to try and interact with you guys a little bit, as well as pull up questions for me because you guys post things so fast I can't read them and talk at the same time. You guys have a lot of stuff to say, and sometimes you say mean things, and so it throws me off if I read mean things. So she runs it, so she can ask me the questions. Any super chats you send our way, we will acknowledge them, say your name, read your question, answer them. With that in mind, last week we had some mistakes and that didn't happen. There were some oopsies last week. We're having a technical problem with the chat room with my Sean Chandler Talks About channel to where I can't interact with the chat board with Sean Chandler Talks About at all on any live streams on anyone's channel. So there's a glitch. We've been at, so first off, very sorry that we got 3 last week that I did not acknowledge on camera because of the glitch. We didn't notice them because she's logged in to respond to you guys using a different Sean Chandler channel, and so she just missed it because of that. Second thing, we've been in communication with the YouTube tech team about it. They've acknowledged there is a glitch, there is a problem, they just haven't been able to fix it yet. So that's a problem. Third thing, I'm just going to kick things off. I'm going to answer those 3 questions, and then my wife will be reading you guys' questions as you send them our way, collecting some of those. If you send super chats our way, whether they're normal questions, we'll try and get to as many as we can. We're going to go for about 45 minutes today is the plan, which means in Sean and Jennifer time, we're probably going to do this for about 3 hours because we're not very good at cutting. We don't know how to. We can't? Why not?
No.
Because we have a wedding to go to.
Well, and I'm just old.
Yeah, we're old now. We can't do 3-hour mega streamathons anymore. All right, first question's up. Riftyisspitty last week with the super chat said, "Can you do a face reveal?" What she's referring to here is my secret wife over here.
Not secret.
You're not a secret?
No.
So she doesn't like to be on camera, and for the obvious reasons. The YouTube comment sections are notoriously mean. And they really are. They'll say anything, and not everybody wants to put themselves up to the scrutiny of all of YouTube. And back when I had 500 subscribers, and she would help me run the chat board, and she was still at that point in time not crazy about the idea of being on camera. So even back then, she would run the board from over there. Didn't want to be on camera. Jump forward 80 times as many subscribers as when I had 500. Really doesn't want 40,000 people criticizing her and all the different things that kind of go along with that.
I'm really more comfortable behind. It's not even like a...
And this is it's not
just
new.
my personality.
Yeah.
I'm very not a in front of things person.
And I've been doing stuff on stage for years, and she'd be in the back taking Twitter questions from people, and she'd ask this is not this kind of setup where I'm on stage. This is our arrangement that we've had for a long time. So very unlikely that we're going to be doing any sort of wife reveals on the channel anytime soon.
It's not because you're ashamed of me.
Yeah, it's nothing like that. It's entirely on her end. Riftyisspitty also asks, "What's your favorite DC and Marvel heroes and villains?" Favorite heroes for DC, Batman and Superman. Those are my favorite heroes, just across the board. Those are my favorite ones. Marvel, I'm a bigger DC fan than a Marvel fan, and so it makes it a little bit difficult in that regard. I don't really have this distinct, obvious favorite heroes. Growing up, Wolverine, because the '90s X-Men cartoon, big Wolverine fan. We've gotten a lot of Wolverine. I've been gotten a little bit Wolverined out over the last little bit of time. Obviously, Logan was excellent, but a little bit Wolverined out. At times I've liked Spider-Man, but he's not really my favorite. Tony Stark in Iron Man in the MCU is just phenomenal, but so is Captain America. So is almost all of them. They're all phenomenal. So it's tricky to kind of pick favorites. Yeah, they are also good looking. That's more for my wife's sake than for mine. They're also they're all funny. They're all charming. They all have great chemistry. So it's a little bit tricky to pick favorites. Favorite villains, Lex Luthor. I like the Mastermind. The one that they've had the last 30 years, the Michael Rosenbaum. He's a businessman that's well respected by the community, rich guy, but he's scheming behind the scenes. That version of Lex Luthor, I really like that one. Zod, pretty classic. Batman's Rogues Gallery, it's all pretty great. He's got a ton of great villains, so it's tough to pick a favorite. On the Marvel side, if you see my MCU ranking video, I got Loki up top. Thanos will be really high up there. The Killmonger, great. If you throw in some of the Spider-Man ones, Green Goblin's pretty cool. So those are ones that kind of come to mind. Are you saying you have a super chat? I got one more real quick. And at last week, Eric Hoffart asked via super chat, what is your favorite Wes Anderson movie? Royal Tenenbaums. Just amazing cast, quirky characters. Hit me at the right time in life of just kind of... the movie has a deep sense of loneliness and brokenness to it about the characters that when it came out, I was very lonely and broken. No, I wasn't a teenager. I was more brooding after high school a little bit because all my friends went off to college, and so I was hanging out with high schoolers. And my dad died too, so it's kind of a morbid detail to throw in there. This is like a sad point in time in my life, so it hit me on a pretty deep level. Royal Tenenbaums, very much. That's my answer. Also spent a lot of time watching Bottle Rocket. Similar sort of situation of... my wife doesn't like it. It's a movie about loneliness, these kind of weird characters finding people and things like that, and odd relationships, and so it kind of connected with me as well. What do you got for me?
Awesome Dude 900 says it's his birthday tomorrow and he's going to see Deadpool 2.
Happy birthday, Awesome Dude 99?
900.
900. Happy birthday, Awesome Dude, to you. And have fun with Deadpool 2. I had a ton of fun with it. I didn't think it was a great movie, but it's a very enjoyable movie. What do we got?
Have you ever been to Disney World?
I have been to Disney World. So I was born in California, and so I went to Disneyland when I was like 3. I don't remember it, but there's a picture of me at Disneyland with my family and my dad frowning because he was pushing me around, my sister having a big grin on her face. And then I went again when I was 7 and don't remember it also. And that's when I moved to Texas. But I went to Disney World around the 5th, 6th grade, somewhere in there, just old enough that it was perfect age. And my mom used to take my sister and I on these long, like 6 weeks vacations, 1 week or month-long vacations where we'd just kind of get a car and we'd drive around the country. Sometimes we'd take the train places. And that's what we kind of did on this big kind of long journey. Ended up at Disney World, went to Universal Studios. And this was 20 years ago, so it was a very different kind of... they don't have a lot of the stuff that they had now. It's very different. But 25 years ago, actually, is when it was. Wow, 25 years ago. Yeah, I'm old. But very great fun time.
Disney World is California?
Disney World is Florida. Disneyland is California. That's why I went to Disneyland 2 times when I was very young because I was in California. So yeah, very cool vacation. And we also went to Universal Studios and all the fun things that went along all these shows. And then back in 2014, I went to Universal Studios only for a couple hours though. I was there for a work conference trip deal. And the people I went with were like, let's go to Harry Potter World. So I went to Harry Potter World about 4 years ago. And yeah, my wife was upset. I got her a wand. I got her a chocolate frog. And went on but yeah, we only got to ride the rides one time. And then there's a Avengers Land at Universal Studios where I got to go on. They've got one of those 3D rides where they shoot flames at you. Really cool stuff. But anyway, what do we got next?
I just wanted to throw in there that Tigger proposed to me at Disney World.
Oh wow, Tigger proposed to you. Did you say yes? Or?
I was in middle school. I giggled.
Oh, it sounds illegal.
Yeah.
It sounds creepy now that you put it that way. What do we got?
Logan or The Dark Knight?
I go Dark Knight. So just Batman over Wolverine kind of preference in it, but I'd go with The Dark Knight. I think a lot of that is just I have a strong preference towards good DC stuff over good Marvel stuff, which it's interesting because my channel's kind of built on all my MCU stuff because the MCU's great and they've been just knocking it out of the park. And so then in a certain ways it looks like I'm very much a Marvel guy, but in another sense I'm very much a DC guy. And so I would go with this guy right here. What do we got?
Super chat from K.O. Rourke 94.
Thank you.
If Disney buys Fox, do you want the X-Men to join the MCU, or do you just want Marvel Studios to do their own separate version?
I absolutely am on board with them joining the MCU, because you almost get the whole thing at this point in time when you get Fantastic Four and X-Men in there. That's my thought for what do you do for Phase 4 if we're going to probably phase out all of our original Avengers, and we just did Thanos. So we've kind of used up a ton of the good stuff. How do you take it to that next level going into Phase 4? How do you set it up for another 10, 15 years? Hard reboot of the X-Men. I want a hard reboot of the X-Men. Let Dark Phoenix close it out. Finish out a 20-year continuity of sorts. They're a loose continuity. 20-year Fox X-Men continuity. That's crazy. And that's time to do a reboot. So much has changed in the comic books, and just wanting a fresh start with these characters without the issues of continuity, everything they've been trying to do with time. So absolutely, I want them to come in. I don't necessarily have casting in mind or anything like that, but that's what my thought for Phase 4 is. How do you take it to the next level, bring them in, maybe at the end of Phase 4, you have an X-Men Avengers team-up movie, you get... whichever of the surviving original people to come back for one more movie. I think that just sounds amazing. How do you keep upping it? That's how you keep upping it. What do we got?
Super chat from Dark Side Movie Reviews. If you could be in your favorite movie, what movie would that be? And we will turn you to Marvel yet, my friend.
Thanks for the super chat, buddy. What if I could be in which favorite movie?
What movie would that be?
That's
tricky.
It's tricky.
I wouldn't want to be in Jaws.
Yeah, so there's two aspects to it. If I'm picking one of my favorite movies to be in, there's any number I could go with. So an obvious one would be Star Wars original trilogy in general. So the idea that one of my fantasies in life, the thing would be like, what if you could just make something happen? What would be the ultimate thing to do? For me, one of them is to star in an action movie. And what I mean by that is that thing where these guys get to all these Chris's in the MCU and Henry Cavill's, they get to work out for 6 months straight with a chef, personal trainer, all that fun stuff, while taking gun classes, martial arts classes, sword training classes, and then they hook them up on harnesses and they get to do all this cool, crazy, fun stuff, get to be in a movie being like ultimate tough guy situation. Like, that's a dream come true to me. So, if you take my favorite movies, you can go with, I love some of these Batman movies, love these Star Wars movies. It fits the mold. Or I love The Matrix. Like, that's even the one where this fantasy came from. Watching, I think they called it The Matrix Revisited, is what this hour and a half long documentary on the making of The Matrix. And I was watching, it was like, this is amazing what Keanu Reeves is doing right now. That is my fantasy for life.
Whoa, what? What? He was doing what?
What?
Are you talking John Wick?
No, The Matrix.
Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure your fantasy wasn't me dead.
I mean, that's one of my fantasies. Avenging you, Jennifer. I could avenge you. Wouldn't that be so romantic to kill a bunch of people because they killed you? And the kids? Wasn't that sweet?
Just stop
okay,
right
okay.
now.
Wrong direction
Awful.
to take things. So, take any one of these options, whether you're going Matrix, Star Wars, Batman, I'm the new Batman. The idea of getting to be a part of a story like this iconic story, getting to train for it, and all that fun, that just sounds amazing to me. There you go.
Sorry. I know I'm working on it. Super chat from Jack. What do you think of Jared Padalecki? I don't know how to say his last name, for Wolverine.
He's way too tall. So in the comic, Wolverine in the comic books is 5'3". That's his height in the comic books. Hugh Jackman's like 6'2". Jared Padalecki is 6'4", 5". He is a enormously tall guy, and so that's not the ultimate thing that matters to me, but that's my first thing that comes to mind. An infamously short comic book character with a very tall actor. Part of the problem for me is that I know him mostly from Gilmore Girls. That's like my definitive memories of Jared Padalecki. A lot of people know from Supernatural, but we watched 3 seasons and then she checked out. She's like, we're done with this show. Just because of the dark subject matter. We had newborn kids. The premise of it is the mom dies. A bunch of stuff like that. You couldn't do it anymore. So we dug what we watched. But we just haven't finished watching. And in Gilmore Girls, he's a kind of a whiny high schooler that's kind of goofy. Not a great... That makes bad choices. It's not the best setup for a Wolverine. And so enough of what I've seen him in Supernatural. I dug it. I like him. I'd love it if he got more stuff. I don't immediately think him Wolverine. In just a certain intensity, a certain just... walk in the room and coming off intimidating is what I think of with Wolverine. And I just don't get that from him. While even he's a very physically imposing guy. He's also an Austin boy, which makes me very much like him. I have a bunch, I don't want to overstate that. I've got about 3 friends that have just run into him at concerts and got Andy, ran into him at Austin City Limits, and like 3 or 4 people took a picture with him. Yeah, there you go. I mean, we get a number of stories of people just running into him. So we're fans of his. Just I don't see him immediately as as a Wolverine. And that's one of the reasons that people frequently mention Tom Hardy, because he's a bit of a shorter actor. Some people don't realize that because he played Bane, which is kind of an odd choice in and of itself because of his size. I mean, he's under 5'10". Like, he's not tall, but he looks physically intimidating. That's a very Wolverine type quality to have. Am I going, if you say in the chat, if I'm running smoothly, my meters are telling me that I could be.
I'm showing your yellow, but
if no one's saying anything,
screen, like I can't watch you and the chat.
Okay.
So I see your stream health, but I can't.
Well, if some people can tell us in the chat rooms if they notice anything. Okay. Now I'm back to green, so maybe we're good.
Okay.
What do we got next?
Favorite Spielberg movie?
Favorite Spielberg? Oh, ooh, that's brutal right there. It really is a tough question for me because I believe that Spielberg has made actually perfect time to promote this. Tomorrow I'm starting a series where I'm going to re-review all the Jurassic Park movies leading up
They're
to.
Asking for that. So good.
Yeah, so tomorrow, like I was taking notes earlier today, gonna shoot the review for it. I don't know. It's tough. We got a wedding. This is going to be tough. Tomorrow it drops. My review for Jurassic Park. A week after that, Lost World. I listened to the book too. Listened to Lost World. A bunch of stuff prepping for it. So just as a plug, Steven Spielberg coming tomorrow. But I believe he's a director that's directed multiple best of the genres. He's a guy that when you think of the best adventure movie, I think Raiders of the Lost Ark. A lot of people prefer Last Crusade. And they're not. She does, and I'm not going to fault them. I hear that and I go, yeah, you can make a very easy case for that. So the two best adventure movies are him. Best kind of thriller, Jurassic Park's in the conversation. Best World War II dramas. You think Schindler's List. Best original blockbuster. This is the original blockbuster, Jaws. I mean this is his career, and where you think about like. Where he's kind of slowed down and hasn't been as good over the last 15 years. And he's only making movies like Lincoln and Minority Report. Like, that's when his career slowed down a bit. That's how good this guy is. So, what would I pick for his best?
I can't make best choice.
Because there's multiples I would give perfect scores to. There's multiples. I'd probably go Raiders. That's like I haven't found a Raiders poster. I'd have a Raiders poster if I could find one. Or Last Crusade. Or Temple of Doom. Not Crystal Skulls, but I need an Indiana Jones one back. These have a wood backing to them, and I haven't found one of that movie yet. As soon as I do, I don't really care what the price is. It would be make it on my wall.
Really quickly, I just have to say I can't do the chat. I can't do the two windows. My internet browser isn't working like that, so I'm not going to be able to comment back to everybody. So
okay.
I'm just going to monitor. So sorry.
Okay, no, she can't comment back. It's if you didn't hear this catch at this beginning, wherever there's a technical glitch with the Sean Chandler Talks About YouTube account, I can't comment on the chat forms of when they're live on my channel or anyone else's. And we've talked to tech people, and they're working on it, but they don't have a solution yet. So unfortunately, we can't respond back to you. It's just me talking at you and maybe her saying a few things. What do we got?
Kitty Clark, I just saw you said, can you reply to our comments? Can't. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's what's going on. That's why we can't reply to the comments. Like it's been going on for about a month now that we haven't been able to reply. So last video we used a separate account, but because of that we missed some super chats, and there's not a good solution right now. So we've been in communication with YouTube about it. They don't have a solution yet. So very sorry.
Sorry. Super chat from Jack.
From Jack, what do we got?
Sick Channel Giza? I don't know if he's calling you old or...
He's calling me a geezer. It's true, I am older than I look. A lot of people think I'm quite a bit younger than I am.
Channel Giza, keep it up.
Thanks, I very much appreciate it. It really does mean the world to me. I like every day, I get kind of like 20 people that leave comments where they're angry with me. And so when you guys kind of say some of those nice, kind things, it really does, some days I really do need you guys to pet me up because people say crazy things to me. They're so mean in the comments, and they point every little oopsie out. If I make a mistake in a video, especially if it's one that gets successful, I will hear about it for 2 months in literally hundreds of times. So I very much appreciate some of those things.
Do you think Val Kilmer is an underrated Batman? He has the look, the voice, and the psychological side to the character.
It's tough to say because we only got him in one movie, and the one movie we got him in was the Joel Schumacherified 90s campy, but adult campy because it's nipple suits and adult, sexual jokes. So it's a very odd take on the character. I would guess if you put him with a better director, or I don't want to even say better director, a director with a better vision for Batman. Joel Schumacher's a great director. His Batman movies are just not, I mean, just a horrible direction. But he's got other movies that are really good. So, I would say if you put him with a director better suited for Batman, you'd get a very good performance. I would tend to agree with you. But I wouldn't necessarily say with what we have he's underrated, because he did what he could with the material that was there. So, what do we got?
Super chat from Baby Lock Them Doors Stabber 77.
Woo, that's quite the name there. Thanks so much.
Hey bro, get some neon poster shells. Get lit. LOL.
You get some neon poster.
Put
neon around. Okay, all right. We need to look into that. I want to have a bunch of variety with what we do with those, and pretty sure "get lit" doesn't have drug connotations. Is he trying to get me?
Alcohol, but I don't. It's shifted. We're old now.
Yeah, we're old. We can't keep up with some of these phrases, but she's pretty frowns upon when I do hardcore drugs while on camera.
Just whatever.
Thank you so much for the super chat. What do we got next?
You should rank David Fincher movies. That's been requested.
Yes, that's one of my most requested, is ranking the David Fincher movies. And that one and Tarantino are two of the ones that are doable, that I just need the right window to do it. And so I just need to lock in, and somewhat, even as you guys know, I built this new kind of space. I now have a TV viewing nook right over there, so that I can watch.
I didn't even know what you meant.
I was like, what am I saying? Then I can actually watch, movies like Seven and not have to fear that my, pregnant wife's going to be traumatized by it, or my kids will walk in and turn into sociopaths. So there's several of them that I also get lots for James Bond, but James, it's such a long franchise. It won't be until probably the next one comes out that I'll be able to do that. But Tarantino and Fincher, ones that are, I just need to lock down and do it, and I'm starting to get the pieces in place to be able to do that.
Out of 10, scale of 10, how excited are you for Incredibles 2?
6? I don't know. I guess I'm on the positive side to it, so I'd go 6. But it's not a movie that I'm like, yeah! And just in general, there aren't a lot of animated films that get me excited. I watch violent movies. It's just, if I have my free time, am I going to put on a Pixar movie, or am I going to watch a shark eat people? Am I going to watch Stallone blow people's heads off? Am I going to watch Schwarzenegger punch? Am I going to do that, or am I going to watch an animated film? I just tend to gravitate towards people being punched in the face or something like that. And so it's one that oh yeah, this is pretty excited. But I'm even more excited for it just because I can take my kids to it too. And so that's kind of where that's what I'm more excited about even than the movie in and of itself. And I dig Brad Bird, dig the original Incredibles. Just movies like that aren't the ones that I'm like, yeah.
I just like making you point at me.
She's making a face at me like I don't know what I did, or someone just asked some question. It's about to get awkward. I don't know what's about to happen, but
I just wanted to see if you do it again. Are you excited about the new Jurassic Park movie?
Yeah, it's got dinosaurs eating people, so that's pretty easy for me to enjoy dinosaurs eating people with Chris Pratt running around and teaming up with velociraptors. There's enough schlock in that it's hard for me not to have a good time watching something like that. But the reason I'm setting out to do watch and re-review all the Jurassic Park movies over the next week over the next 4 weeks is because I'm excited for it. And it doesn't look like it's going to be a great movie. It looks like a movie that, with my channel, I use the phrase Taco Bell movies, junk food movies, and a lot of that phrasing came from the original Jurassic World. That's kind of the movie that I think I couldn't really defend the nonsense of the movie, the stupidity of it, but it's this is just movie cinematic junk food that I like eating. Everyone likes some junk food, and when we look at other people's junk food, what they like, it's normally like, why do you like that? For me, that's the one.
Just finished the Indiana OG trilogy. What is your opinion on the potential 2019 film, and would you like to see Chris Pratt as the new male lead?
All right, so 2 questions in there. What do I think about the new movie, and what do I think about reboot continuation with Chris Pratt? What do I think about the 2019 movie? It seems like a real bad idea. It doesn't.
Especially after Solo.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's done for after Solo. What? Why after Solo would that make you not want to see it?
Recasting.
Well, that's the second question.
Oh, excuse me.
That's a different question.
Jumping ahead.
So, for what do I think about the 2019 movie with Harrison Ford? Harrison Ford was born in 1942. That means this year he turns 76. They haven't started shooting yet, so he will be 76 or 77 when they film the movie. He's in good shape for a guy in his 70s. He looks good for a guy in his 70s. He's taking care of himself. That Hollywood money has done him well. But he's 76. And he's not Sylvester Stallone, who's 5 years younger, but appears to be filled with so many steroids, HGH, and has great genetics to where he still looks more jacked than he looked in the original Rocky movie in his 70s. That's not what Harrison Ford is. He's just a guy that he's doing well. That's not what Indiana Jones is. Like, you don't watch Indiana Jones to legitimately watch an old man try and be a hero. And you could see it in Force Awakens. He's not who he was when he was 40. Because he's in his 70s. He's in his 70s. Of course he's not going to be as spry as he was when he was 40 years old. And you think about it, he was 40 when he made, or he was like 38 when he did the original Raiders. He wasn't even that young when he did the original one. And I just have a hard time seeing how that's going to work out well. It just seems like a recipe for making a movie that makes you kind of go, ooh, this is just reminding me of Harrison Ford's mortality, and that Spielberg and Ford are getting older and they're going to die within 10, 15 years. That's what a movie like that feels like. That's what I'll watch it being like. And that's not what I want. What do I think about a reboot of Indiana Jones with Chris Pratt? My former boss guy, actually the pastor of my church now, I think he said the best insight I've heard anyone say about Chris Pratt as Indiana Jones, which was, I've seen Chris Pratt be funny. I've seen him be the action hero, but I haven't seen him be smart. And that's, Indiana Jones is a college professor. He's a world-class archaeologist. He's a brilliant man, and that's attractive, as my wife pointed out. He is attractive, but he's in the adventure, and he's funny and sarcastic and can kind of he can do a bunch of these things. Chris Pratt has almost all of them except the smart one, and he's very infamous for being dumb. Even as Star-Lord, who's not necessarily a dumb character, the character does a lot of dumb things.
Well, and even in like Jurassic World, he says smart things, but he delivers them a little bit
he just
campy.
he comes off. He doesn't have. He's missing a piece, and I'm not locked in on saying he can't do it. And if they announced he was doing it, I wouldn't be like, oh no, what are they doing? But there's a nervousness in that because of that issue. That's when I heard the guy say that, I was like, that's very true. That's a very good observation that I haven't heard anyone else say. And what do I just think about rebooted Indiana Jones franchise? I'd be more for that than for this 2019 old man Ford doing it. I'd be the opposite of you. The problem I think with Solo is that they're not rebooting the continuity. It's in continuity. It's like, and it's in a way that it makes it feel off. Like with the Star Trek 2009, I was totally fine with Chris Pine as Kirk. Totally been fine with it. Because it's a different continuity. And it's not like they tie together in this prime.
Did you know that at first? 'Cause that was part of the plot.
Yeah, but I mean,
changed the continuity. I was fine with Star Trek. I wasn't picky,
but it seemed okay because they were different enough. They're connected, but they're different at the same time. Whereas this is literally just, this is what that Harrison Ford Solo looked like 5 years earlier. And it just feels out of place. Whereas this telling it like, even if you in Indiana Jones stories are also self-contained, so it just feels like it works better. Kind of like it would feel to me a little bit more in line with James Bond than with what they did with Solo.
I feel like part of the problem, and obviously this shows my opinion, but part of the problem with Solo is there hasn't been a break from Star Wars in a long time. So Star Trek, in particular, I was fine with that because there hadn't been anything in a long time, and so it was new all the way around. Whereas we've had a Star Wars movie once a year for.
Or in this case, once every 6 months. So that's kind of my take on it. I'm open to a reboot. We're almost, by the time that a rebooted Indiana Jones movie would come out, it'd be 40 years. 40 years in a reboot, that's fair. That's fair game right there. And especially because it's a period piece, if they do Indiana Jones, stay in the 30s. Go back to the 30s. I think that would work very well for them. Sorry, we went a while on that one. Super chat, thank you.
Baby locked indoors, Stabber 77. Is vlogging in the future before movies and after?
I don't currently have plans for this channel to do kind of vlogging type stuff because it feels off. It feels like different content. When people tune in for, like, even my channel, it's moved away from movie reviews. I used to go to the movies every single week. I'd go 2 times per week, and I would have reviewed Overboard last year, but this year it's shifted quite a bit towards very much franchise type stuff is what I talk about. That's what people want me to rank, and things of that nature is where it's kind of shifted. And so even my movie reviews aren't kind of the big driving content in certain ways. So the idea of doing kind of a vlog where, hold the camera to my face or something like that and just kind of, here's a day in my life as I get ready to watch Solo. There's nobody in the theater. Look at this. There's no one here. And then I went to go see it a second time. Look, there's no one in the theater. We're only 30 minutes early and we're the only... it just would feel out of place on my channel right now as regular weekly content. I think I very regularly consider having a second channel to do things like that. There's a lot of just kind of having a channel that's not... This one has a very distinct brand to it with the rankings and the franchises and MCU, Star Wars, big things. So having a second channel that's doesn't have some of the weight of all of that, where sometimes on this channel videos get 100,000 views. This channel would just be, let's do vlogs, let's have fun and post content where I don't have to be worried about bigger picture strategic thinking. So in that sense, perhaps, yes. And if you guys are interested in me having a second channel where I put a lot more kind of different types of content up there, let me know.
Someone asked if you're going to change out your movie posters.
Like these ones?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I changed them out right before we started shooting.
The answer is yes.
The answer, yeah. I mean, these were... I swapped these out right before we started shooting because I had 3 Star Wars posters up there. And then I have, these other ones over here. And then, actually, I don't think I've even used any of these ones yet. I also have these...
No, you haven't because they've got the corners on.
This set of DC posters as well. So absolutely, I will be changing them out. I have 14 of them, I think, right now. I think I have 14 of them right now. So that's entirely the plan, is to have different sets of dogs. Hey, Bo, you're famous. So anyway, there you go. What do we got?
Sorry, I'm waiting to see Bo on the screen. There he is. Best moments in Infinity War. It took me a minute to figure out what you were doing.
Drax standing there, trying to be invisible.
Drax assessing Thor as a amazing.
You are a dude. This is a man. Drax. Why is Gamora? Almost every line that Drax delivers in the movie fits into best moments. Most everything with Doctor Strange I thought was great. Tony's character arc in it I thought was pretty good, and just kind of having how far he's come from the original one to here of he can't stop being a hero, even to the very end of trying to die in a certain sense. So, yeah, those are the ones that come to mind.
Will you rank the DC villains like you did with the Marvel ones?
Yeah, that's not a full promise. I updated my calendar, my schedule for May and June and July. So because I map out what videos I'm going to do. As of this moment right now, this is not a promise, but just telling you what is factual. I have that one penciled in for next Saturday. So there's not a big franchise coming out next week. People have been asking me. I've been meaning to do it. I've got all of these posters lined up to have like this amazing set behind me. Haven't done it yet. I've got notes for it. Penciled in. Next Saturday probably is going to be DCEU villains.
Sorry. I lost my place. What is the
Jurassic World can.
saddest thing in MCU?
Saddest thing in the MCU?
The saddest thing.
There's pure sadness. Because you got tragedy, there's horrific. Because Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, like, hey, Star-Lord, you've got 1,000 brothers and sisters, but they're all dead, and here's their carcasses. That's like genocide. That's like disturbing. It doesn't feel sad. It's not played out in a sad manner. It's because he's just like, oh, your mom died. So that opening scene of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, that's pretty sad. That's because it's so real. And it's so real in a movie that's so unreal, which makes it even more potent. As a moment, Spider-Man dying, that one played out pretty heavy.
Especially when you took your pregnant
spoilers. I took your pregnant wife and like just watching her. As she starts bawling. I warned her. I warned her excessively about the movie. She didn't listen.
Like you were gonna let me skip it just because it was sad.
That's sure, but I warned you. Other sad moments, because they have a lot of fake deaths. They don't really count. So those are the ones that I guess I would go with.
Do you like Indian movies?
I don't know.
You watched that superhero one recently.
Yeah, was it Krish?
Sounds right.
Krish. I think Krish. There's 3 of them. They're on Netflix. So I checked out one of them. I was like, I've been meaning, actually, the local theaters play Bollywood movies. Like the Tinseltown in Pflugerville. Mm-hmm. I mean, they'll have 5, 6 Bollywood movies playing. Which was really confusing when they first made that transition. I went to a movie there. It's like, I don't understand what's going on. And then I started to realize, oh, like that's pretty cool that they're playing all these. But I've never been to one myself. So I haven't checked out many. I keep getting recommendations. A bunch of people leaving comments saying I need to check out 3 Idiots. I'm very curious about their remake of Rambo that's coming out next year, I believe. So there's several different things that I need to check out. That was one of those things actually going into this year. I had that as a I need to do for this year. It wasn't quite a goal, but it was an I need to do.
Can you rank the Fast and the Furious movies?
I've got 2 videos up ranking the Fast and the Furious movies. There's 2 different videos. Like I did one, both at my Fast and Furious. When I ranked them after Fate of the Furious came out, that was actually kind of the start of when I started doing weekly ranking videos. That was the one that kicked that off, where I went, I should probably just rank every big franchise as they have movies come out. That was the start of what my channel turned into. So that was kind of an iconic one. The video's not very good because I was still figuring out what I was doing, and so I redid it in December in my second series, all movies ranked in under 5 minutes or something like that. So that's a pretty good version of it. But off the top of my head, Tokyo Drift, the 4th one, the first one, the 4th one again, the 4th one again, the second one, Fate of the Furious, 7, 6, 5. There we go.
Okay. Have you ever seen... Hold on, let's look at it.
You're mumbling to yourself.
I'm sorry. Have you ever watched Big Les show?
Big Les?
It's an animated cartoon show.
No, I don't even know what we're talking about. Sorry.
How many times did you see Infinity War?
2. And I don't go to a lot of movies 2 times in the theaters because I go to so many movies. So seeing it 2 times, it's kind of, actually I'm probably going to start doing that a lot more often now that I'm doing the spoiler reviews. Like my frequency of how I'm doing things has changed a little bit. And then my kids are getting a little bit older so that they can start to go to some of these movies with me. I go see it the first time to make sure it's not terrible for them to see, and then I go see it the second time. So I might start to see more kind of big movies 2 times, with that being kind of a direction change for my channel, but I've seen it 2 times.
What's better, Spider-Man Homecoming or The Amazing Spider-Man?
Homecoming. I've got a ranking of the Spider-Man movies too, but Amazing Spider-Man, I think it's a good movie. It's a movie that feels a little bit dull. Like they take a Spider-Man who's a fun character that has a sadness to the character, but he's generally a fun type character, and they tried to ground it and not go gritty. That would be a mislabel, but that's a word that a lot of people use. But they went more grounded with it and a little bit more serious. And I don't think that adds anything to the character. I love Garfield and Emma Stone, their interactions. I think they're great. And if that director went and did a spiritual sequel to 50 Days of Summer, his first movie, with those two, I'd think that was a great idea. I'd love to see that. But the movie itself feels a little bit dull, whereas on the flip side of that, Spider-Man Homecoming, the best thing about it is that it's just kind of jovial and fun and innocent, not pretentious, and feels adolescent. It feels like high schoolers, which all are things that work well for a Spider-Man movie.
Do you watch Stranger Things?
Yeah, we watched both seasons. I've seen both seasons of Stranger Things. I reviewed them on my channel. My review for the first season of Stranger Things is one of the first reviews on my channel, so it's probably terrible. Not good. And then I did like an hour-long review with one of my friends for Stranger Things Season 2. But yeah, we watched Stranger Things.
Potential spoiler alerts?
For what?
Solo.
Okay. Is it a good...
Cameo.
The one at the end?
Skip it for now since it's so fresh.
What's the...
What did you think about it?
I can answer that. So there's a cameo at the end of Solo. What did I think about it? I posted my Solo spoiler review today, so my full thoughts are on there. I dug it. I'll say this. This is but that cameo and kind of where the movie ends. I'll say this. If they announced that they're doing Han Solo 2 or that Boba Fett isn't really Boba Fett, it's more a sequel to where this movie ends with the where they open things up to the criminal underworld and what that looks like. And the Boba Fett movie is more exploring this criminal underworld. With James Mangold, the guy that did Logan, directing it, I would be way more excited about that than I ever was for Solo. Where this movie ended, I was very excited about the potential of the stories they could tell in that. I like that. So that's what I'll kind of say about that. I liked the world that they set up at the end of this movie with the cameo, with the other ingredients sprinkled about the criminal underworld throughout the film. And I wasn't particularly excited about Solo. Very not excited about a Boba Fett movie. But in light of this movie and the world building done, I could see some things I'd be excited about. Like if there's a story about a heist and it's told from the perspective of Boba Fett in this criminal underworld. We're not learning about him. It's not like any backstory. It's just we're going on an adventure. He's the perspective character. Han Solo's a side character. He shows up for part of the mission with Chewie, and Jabba shows up for a little bit, and he's the one that hires them. And it's a continuation of where this movie ended. I think that could be really cool, and I could be on board with that far more so than the theoretical Boba Fett movie as it's been proposed thus far.
Sorry. Let's scroll back up and find my questions. Oh, I should have known this one. This is new. It's totally not. You need to rank Black Widow's hairstyles.
Yeah, so keep asking me. I'm looking at the ones right now, questions in right. So I think I'm going to make a video about this, but Baby Burgers asked, why do you think Solo did so bad at the box office? I'm probably going to do a video about this on Tuesday. Pretty sure. That's my current plan for Tuesday. As I mentioned, I mapped out a little bit of time. That's what I wrote down for Tuesday, I think. Why did Solo do so bad at the box office? As of right now, it looks like it's doing about $82 million for the 3-day and about $100 million for the 4-day. Rogue One did $155 million for the 3-day. So that's a shocking drop. That's very bad to go Rogue One 155, Solo holiday weekend down to 80 million. That's bad. Last Jedi was 220. This is almost a third. So half of Rogue One, a third of Last Jedi, and it's less than a third of the 3-day for Force Awakens. Why do I think that happened? There's a ton of reasons that to go into. That's why I'll do a video on it. Quick answer would be people weren't excited about the idea of the movie. It just seemed like, oh, do I want to see the backstory? Another Star Wars prequel? That went bad before. The director chaos kind of put a little bit of a bad tint on the project. Star Wars fatigue. 3 Star Wars movies in 18 months. That's a lot. Especially for this one being a project that people were particularly excited about. And so it's like, it just doesn't feel necessary. And people that have seen the movie, even the people that are like, that was a lot of fun, they're like, it doesn't feel necessary. So if you're feeling a little bit fatigued on Star Wars, you go, well, I can skip this one. There's not going to be anything there I need to know because Star Wars already made sense to me. And then the trailers weren't great. The trailers didn't do a lot to make people go, oh, no, that looks like a movie I've got to go see. No, you just watched it and you went, that looks like a Han Solo movie. So I think those are the ones that kind of immediately come to mind. And just, I guess as a fifth one of sorts, it's not specifically just The Last Jedi. There's a lot of talk about Last Jedi fallout, that people weren't happy about Last Jedi, and so that's tainting things. I don't think it's that simple. I think there's a lot of people that in different ways, in different directions, are very burned on Star Wars Disney. There's a number of decisions involved in that. And a lot of it going back to Kathleen Kennedy, and Rogue One had director's issues. Han Solo had director's issues. They fired Colin Trevorrow from doing Episode 9 and brought JJ back. There's a lot of concern that Force Awakens was too similar to A New Hope. And so all of this, there's just, everything feels a little bit tainted, and people are getting a bit of a sour taste in their mouth to Disney Star Wars. And there hasn't just been something that has just been universally like, that's just good. And it doesn't feel like Disney's paying attention. Like the day before they're about to release Solo, which people are like, do we need this? They announce, we're doing Boba Fett, which just seems like doubling down on, hey, you guys didn't ask for this stuff. Now we'll give you more of it.
Our son will be excited.
He will. Yeah, he loves helmets, jetpacks, and bad guys. What do we got next?
Thoughts on Arrested Development? Or drinking Pepper?
I thought it was going to be a longer question. Thoughts on Arrested Development? Are you talking about my Arrested Development as a person and how is it developed?
No, I think
the TV show.
TV show. Do you watch it? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so we've watched every episode of Arrested Development. I've known a lot of people that were... I know a lot of people that are bonkers about Arrested Development, that like go to trivia competitions. One of the guys...
That stairway was in...
Yeah, the stairway was in Austin a week or two ago. So people are bonkers for Arrested Development. We're not in that category. We've watched through it. Whenever season 4 dropped, I mean, we watched it, binged it. Actually, on one of the precursors to Sean Chandler Talks About is I started a movie blog where I would do movie reviews, and I reviewed, ranked everything. Season 4 of Arrested Development on there. I need to look that up. Maybe I don't want. I could mess up. Yeah. Out there, there's a thing called the Non-Essentials. It's just a Blogspot blog, me talking about movies, and I talked about Arrested Development on there. So I'm that big of a fan of it. I hear, was it season 5 drops next week or something like that? I can't say I'm excited at all. I don't have any anticipation, excitement. And some of it's just maybe the timing of it. I'm a little bit busy with other things, so it's like one more thing I have to do is watch that. So I probably won't be able to watch it to create content about it. It's not a show we rewatch. It's one that it's like, if we're going to watch it, we're going to watch the whole thing. Because that's the way it's designed. It's very self-retro meta. It's smart.
You are. Like, I mean, I watched it, but it seems like a type of show that you'd be more likely to rewatch than I.
It's smart, intelligent. You have to remember.
I see.
I'm going to pay for that later. But so, it's not one we rewatch. So I'm not very excited about what coming out. And it doesn't help any that some interview came out last week that puts a real sour taste in my mouth towards it, where the Mama Bluth basically said that Jeffrey Tambor, Papa Bluth, verbally abused her on set, made her cry. And it was like a group, and he's been, apparently there's sexual allegations about him, so he was fired from his show Transparent. And that was somewhat the context of where some of this stuff came out. And so she's talking about crying and this man berating her until she cries. And then the men on the stage defend him and like, hey, we're acting, we're families, moments happen. So all of it is very weird, kind of doesn't put them in the best light. So, so those are some various thoughts on Arrested Development. What do we got?
Do you watch The Flash?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not caught up. When it was on Hulu, it was very easy for me to keep up to date. In the past, I've done a bunch of reviews too. I even did some right after the episode aired, we do a live review of them. And but they pulled it from Hulu, and we don't have a DVR, we don't have cable, and we have kids, and they go to bed at the time it airs. So it's very difficult for me to watch it. It'll be a little bit easier now if I continue watching it. These CW shows are killing me. So I'm trying to, if I can catch up on it quick enough, if it shows up on Netflix quick enough, I plan to rake the seasons. And right now, yesterday I binged watched 6 episodes of Arrow. We watched one right before we came here to do this so I can rank the Arrow seasons as well. And hopefully that'll happen Wednesday of this week. So I watch Arrow and The Flash in theory, but they've been pretty rough recently for me to watch, just with their worst qualities seem to be a little bit on the front burner with the melodrama and why don't you trust me? Why won't you give me your name and your it's burning me out a little, especially binge watching 6 episodes. I was like, oh, this is a little rough. So hopefully the latter half of Flash season will be better. It'll have a better experience with it.
I hope so. Have you seen The Hitman's Bodyguard, and what did you think?
Yeah, I've seen it. I have a review on my channel for it. I dug it. It just is. It's a type of movie we don't get a lot of these days, which is just a straightforward action comedy. Those were so common in the 80s, 90s. It feels like a movie that's 20 years out of its time, which I think that's a good thing, that we to have a movie that we don't have a lot of things like that. And it's very much a star vehicle. The movie has a good enough script, but the charm of the movie is Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson yelling at each other for 2 hours. And then who can we get to be a bit out of character? Salma Hayek just berating people, crass as can be, and just having fun. It's a very exuberant movie in kind of the way it does things. It's not great. It's fast food. It's Taco Bell type movie for me. But I dug it.
Are you done? I'm sorry. I'm typing questions. Have you ever seen the Ninjago TV show?
By chance, I have seen the Lego Ninjago TV show. I have never sat down to watch an episode myself.
I have. Well,
you just sat. You were sitting there. Our kids weren't around, and you're like, "What am I going to do now?"
That's what I watched last night when you were watching Arrow.
Yeah, you were watching The Greatest Showman 3 times in a row. So my son loves it. I tried to introduce it to him at one point in time, and he kind of ignored it. And then 6 months later, he just fell in love with it. I mean,
that's all our life is.
Yeah, it's basically excessively Lego Ninjago,
Lego anything.
Star Wars, Lego Star Wars. So he went all in. So I've seen a ton of it in the background. I've never just sat and watched an episode, but I've watched it via that excessively. And we have the toys, the sets, the Lego, all of it around our house.
How would you fix the Arrowverse and the XMen team movies? So they're both
X-Men team movies?
That is team movies, yes.
So Arrowverse, I don't think it's fixable at this point in time. I think they especially what they did in this last couple episodes we were watching.
I felt the way that you feel right now.
Yeah,
seasons ago.
And you weren't wrong.
Thank you.
It has not gotten better in my mind. I don't think there's a way to fix it. Some shows just run out of... Actually, here's a little fun piece of history. One of the first videos on my channel is me reviewing Arrow Season 1. That's one of the first 5 videos I did for my channel is reviewing Arrow Season 1. So it's a little bit of a nice piece of history. In the video, what I talk about is I was just impressed by how every episode had a twist and a turn. But then I said, I don't know how you maintain this. You can't have this many twists, turns, reveals, and continue on and keep the quality up. And that's what happened. They ran out of ideas, started recycling ideas, and it just starts feeling really forced when everyone's a superhero, everyone has trust issues, everyone's being lied to. So I don't think it can be fixed. It can be less bad, it can be less tedious, but there's not a way to get back to the good old days. And that's how most TV shows kind of do that. They run out of steam. It's really difficult to come up with 100 stories for one set of characters. Come up with 22 stories every single year. That's one every 2 weeks. That's a lot of work. And that's why a lot of the cable shows that are premium shows that people just go gaga over, they don't do 22. Game of Thrones is 10 episodes. They don't do 22. Netflix does not do 22 episodes. They do 10 to 13 episodes. That's very intentional. Breaking Bad, 10 episodes. So I think that's... I don't think you can't fix it. How do you make it less bad? Cut all the extra second team heroes, cut all of them out of it. Get back to Diggle, Arrow, Felicity, and maybe occasionally Speedy shows up or something like that. And I don't know exactly where all the Diggle stuff's going to play out in this season. It seemed pretty rocky where I was at, but you just get back to that original trio from the beginning and go back to a more simple type of storytelling. Bad guy shows up that they're trying to take out, and rely on your strengths, not big, gigantic twists and turns. Just go back to simpler storytelling. How do you fix the X-Men team movies? I don't know what the question means. We had one bad one. The one before that was Days of Future Past, which wasn't a bad one. Apocalypse, not horrible, but not great either. Some people dig it. Most people were pretty underwhelmed by it. So that's one mediocre movie. So that's not like a pattern of getting off course. But in general, as I said earlier in the stream, I want them to end this continuity with Dark Phoenix. That's the last movie, hard reboot it in the MCU. It's been 20 years. It's been 20 years. Hard reboot is totally earned. That's how you fix the X-Men franchise. And even the source material, the comics, the characters, 20 years, a lot changes, a lot gets introduced, that they're building off a foundation that's really old in the realm of comic books. So even like the original X-Men movie kicked off the modern era of comic book movies. It's the first one, that X-Men from the year 2000. And maybe you could say Blade from a couple years before, but on the blockbuster level, it was X-Men. It's time for a reboot. 20 years. So many of you were not born when that movie came out.
I just bought the Cornetto trilogy from Edgar Wright on Blu-ray.
Directly from him?
No.
Oh, grammar's tricky.
And my mom has never seen any Edgar Wright movie before. What should I show her first?
Depends on what she likes.
She doesn't like action much.
Not Hot Fuzz. I mean, it's a tough one because when you say action, like, does she like? Because you look at the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, the End of the World movie.
There's lots of blood in all of them.
They all have action violence in them. So if she doesn't like action movies, Hot Fuzz is out. But the other two are more violent, or they're violent in their own ways. So it's not. It's tough to know where to go with the question. I'd say you watch them in order. So start with Shaun of the Dead, but if she doesn't like zombie movies, that's not a good place to start. But then what about the End of the World? Isn't really a good place to start either. So with the information you gave me, I don't really know what to tell you. Generically speaking, I'd probably tell people to start with Hot Fuzz. But what you told me, you should not start with Hot Fuzz.
I know you've already said this, but can you reiterate that I can't respond to comments?
Yeah, so if you're tuning in a little bit late in the game, we can't respond to comments.
I can't chat.
Yeah, we can't chat back. There's some glitch in... Last week we actually missed some super chats because we were trying to use a different account so we could respond back, and that meant we missed some super chats. And we've contacted YouTube about it. They're looking into it. They don't have a solution. They've acknowledged, yeah, there's some sort of glitch in your account to where you can't respond to live chats on other people's accounts either. I tried to watch some other people's things and I asked the question and nothing worked. So we can't respond right now. Sorry.
Not ignoring you. Just can't talk.
Do you have enough questions where you could switch over or something like that?
I just can't. I can't do that, and specifically with the super chat, I don't want to miss it like we did last time.
Okay, well, I can pull my window open, so...
I have questions.
No, for super chats.
Oh.
I'll catch it if there's a super chat.
Okay. Are you going to collect action figures based on popular movie characters?
I mean, I have some things. I'm not looking to add another thing to my list.
No, you're not.
No, the wife says no. What I'd be inclined toward, I don't have a place to put them. Is the thing. There's not.
With 2 kids and another on the way, we don't need to be collecting stuff.
Toys that'll get mad at them for breaking.
Yes, that too.
It's my wife's decided no, and it really is.
She's not unreasonable.
Yeah, the problem We don't have a place to put them. If I had a place to put them, every time I'd turn around, my son would be grabbing Deadpool and then break the arm off this $50 Deadpool or whatever it would be. Or if I got a bunch of Funko Pops and was like, hey, I'm going to put a bunch of Funko Pops, I'd walk in here every day and my son would be pulling the lid off and pulling things out. So it just wouldn't work. So that's even the ones that we have had, they play with them and I come in and Groot's head is turned around backwards and things like that.
They messed up the spring.
And they broke the spring. It's just my phase of life. It's really tough. And I thought about that. I was trying to figure out what to do with my thing. I was like, should I get Funko Pops? Should I buy like 4 big action figures? And where I went with posters was simply just my kids won't mess with them. I can get several of them to swap them out, and that's kind of where my set came from. Someone asked me what is my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I'd go Raiders, but I've got a soft spot for Temple of Doom. And Last Crusade is great. If anyone says it's their favorite, I'm tracking with you. Totally understand where you're coming from. Someone asked me to rank the Rocky movies. I already did. I have a video up from about a year ago ranking the Rocky movies. And then when Creed 2 comes out, I'll update it after Creed 2 comes out. But I have it ranked. There's a video up doing all of that fun stuff.
No, we will not answer questions about our address.
Someone asked us what our address is. That's...
What is your address, street, and what state, country, or continent do you live in?
We're in Texas. That's how specific we'll get on it. That other part got...
real shady, real fast.
Gamer Girl says, Temple of Doom is awful, Sean. Can't stand Willie Scott. Not going to blame you. Not saying I dig it because of her. You're right. On that level, certainly she's a weak point of the franchise. There's other things in the movie I have a weak spot for that I just kind of dig. Joshua Gibbs says, love the new setup. Thank you. This is why I can't have this window open where I'm looking at it, because I just keep reading and I want to like respond real quick to what you guys are saying. But I'm really digging like once we kind of figured out the poster deal and everything, I've very much enjoyed this new setup. It's worked very, very nicely for us. What do you have next for us?
Thoughts on Shawshank Redemption?
I have a review up on my channel. It's a very early review up on my channel of Shawshank Redemption, where I had a buddy of mine hadn't seen it before, so we watched it. And so it's a very different type of video from my channel. You see like it's like me interviewing him about the movie. I think it's great. I think it's a great movie. That every time I watch it, I forget how many levels there are to the way how so many different things have worked on it. Yeah, I dig it. Off the top of my head, I have something more to say. DC and Marvel Fangirl says, Yanni or Laurel? I heard Laurel. That's what I heard.
Yanni.
Yanni?
Yanni or Laurel, not Yanni.
That's just how much that I did not hear Yanni. I heard Laurel. I think it's fascinating for me that how different it is that we interpret, like, here's something different. And in my mind, as soon as this thing kind of came out, some people were like, this is stupid. I just kind of immediately went to... we watch movies, and there are these complex things. So many different sensory things to hear, to see, to experience, and all of it. And then there's this audio clip that's 3 seconds long, 2 seconds long, and we hear different words. It's as simple as can be, one word, and we're hearing different things. And I just think, what does that mean for how we experience movies differently and our mind translates it? That's kind of the odd direction I kind of took some of that. TJ Rich says, have you seen Cobra Kai and will you be doing a review? I will not be doing a review. Just too late to the party. It just by the time, if I put it out now, it's a month too late, or 3 weeks too late to do it. We dug it. We really dug it. We put it on kind of like, oh, Cobra Kai, this is not going to be good. And then we watched the first episode, and my wife goes, can we watch more? Like, yeah, I didn't think you were going to dig this. I didn't think you were going to be like...
I was so excited.
I was not expecting my wife to be really into this show about a 50-year-old man picking on teenagers, because that's my sense of humor. I'm totally down with that. And so then... That's
part of what made it so funny. Like, I was laughing because I knew you would think whatever he just said was hilarious. That was part of it.
But so... and someone, while I'm talking about Cobra Kai, someone asked me about Cobra Kai. I can talk about Cobra Kai as soon as you're...
Stop reading.
I gotta stop reading, yeah. So we really dug it. We didn't like some of the direction it went in the last 2 episodes, where there's kind of a shift of perspective on who's good, who's bad, and why we're supposed to view it. And I didn't think that... it was off-putting the way it was done. It was because we were rooting in one direction, and then it went whoop and got to kind of a nasty turn that I didn't dig. But I liked the final scene in it, setting up season 2. Really dig that one. A couple things. People asked me, someone already asked me, can I rank the David Fincher movies? It's coming eventually. Someone asked me, do I watch the Lethal Weapon TV show? Yes, I do. Someone asked me, can I rank the Lethal Weapon movies?
You're about to lose privileges. Go ahead.
So I'm trying to do ones I can do fast. When I rank the Lethal Weapon movies, I have that on my calendar for June. I had it on for May as well. I rewatched the ones I needed to rewatch in order to be able to rank them. But I'm like prepped to rank the Lethal Weapon movies, so that will probably happen soon. I'll move this over so I can't look at it.
But you have to see the super chat because I'm off that screen now. Can you?
I don't even know where I would see super chats. Someone send a super chat so I can see if I can see it.
Shut up.
It's maybe like 25, 50.
Shut up. That's horrific. What's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
I don't really get scared by movies, but movies that
I think you can answer it without saying you were terrified. What's the scariest objective?
The two movies that I think have like affected me emotionally, and I was young when these ones happened, were.
We don't have emotions now.
I don't have emotions now. Aliens and Predator. Two that when I first watched them on cable late at night after my mom went to bed, I was like, oh wow, that was really freaky. But like the actual normal like slasher movies and stuff like that, those ones never scared me back in the day. Or, I just don't really get scared by movies. Or just if you go with unsettling, not scary. Seven's really unsettling, but
Can you believe it made it in my rotation? The stack of movies I pulled.
Yeah, I don't. So a few days ago, my wife comes downstairs with this gigantic stack of movies. She goes, I want to watch one of these tonight, and it's the weirdest, most eclectic. It's like 3 movies that are obvious every time she always wants to watch them, and it's like. You've Got Mail, While You Were Sleeping, and then it like veers off, and it's 7, which I don't know why she would pick that. Like she would never want to watch 7. 7, Eraser. It's just like these action was like, what just happened? Like what? I don't understand where these selections came from.
I was just trying to give you some variety to choose from.
We went with Eraser, if you didn't know. All right, how would you, like, if you knew that we watched Eraser, that's freaky. We went with Eraser.
Why do you think Ryan Reynolds is perfect for Deadpool?
Because his actual sense of humor and personality that he's always had has been motor mouth, sarcastic, wisecracking, just saying things. That's what he's been. And I think, I don't remember the exact nature of how he got pulled into the world of Deadpool. Over 10 years ago is kind of where some of the ramblings of it started. But you watch him in Blade Trinity, and he's this guy that's sarcastic, motor mouth, wisecracking. That's who he is, and he can pull off the physicality of it as well. So it just seems like an obvious fit. If you think of a guy that is an A-list talent, has the movie star looks, has the physicality, and that is motor mouth like that just has Deadpool type sense of humor, it's him. He's the guy right now that's that.
Well, and he has a respect and admiration for
and
it
that's,
as well. He's always...
And that's kind of that extra thing on top of it is the fact that he as soon as he got brought into the world, he's like, I love this. I'm going to make this happen. And was all in on it. And that always kind of takes it to that next level when you know the actor is that passionate about it. Likewise, one of the things that makes Hugh Jackman's Wolverine so special is that he played it. He was cast when he was no one as the second choice. And he stuck with it for 18 years. He stuck with it for 17, 18 years. Even after he'd become an A-lister, he could have gone off and done whatever he wanted, and he kept drinking those protein shakes, eating the unseasoned chicken and fish in steamed broccoli to be in incredible shape because he was passionate about it. And that's Ryan Reynolds is similar.
Favorite ever TV series?
Favorite ever? Star Trek Next Generation, Batman the Animated Series. Not as one that I rewatch a lot, but there was just like a great contained unit, Breaking Bad. Favorites? The Office for seasons 1 through 4. Not the later seasons, which we're watching right now. I'm going to rank the Office season soon. It is so rough right now.
So rough. So
Robert Pavel says your favorite alien movie, Aliens. One of my favorite movies of all
you.
time. Oh, you're back?
I switched when you told me to switch.
Oh.
I'm on. No, I can't see Super Chat. That's what you're doing.
This is confusing.
I'm commenting as our other account.
Are you? I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing it.
Well, I'm not commenting.
Oh, yeah, I'm noticing Vincent Adultman. You are in the comment section. I haven't seen you in the comments on my video for a while, but there you are in the chat room. Hey, buddy. Nice. He's one of my first 10 subscribers, Vincent Adultman, in the chat room. He's been around since way back in the day. So nice to see you in the chat board. Sorry.
That's all right. Could you rank the two trilogies? Okay, they're specifying which two trilogies these are on Arrow. The first trilogy being Oliver's Arrow from season 1 to season 3, and the second being Oliver's A Green Arrow from season 4 to 6. So it sounds like she just wants you to pick which one of those two you like best, which seems like 1 through 3.
Seasons 1 through 3. 4, 5, 6. Show's gone off the rails. And I think everything about the show is kind of the action's still great, but everything else I think is kind of they've lost their path. The magic, the best relationships, they broke them eventually, and they turned Felicity into this lecturing, nagging person for seasons 4 and 5, and she's been better in season 6. But then these new characters turned into this as very much so. Seasons 1, 2, and 3 I think are much better. Someone keeps asking, do I like Juggernaut and Deadpool 2? Well enough. I mean, it's not like this big gigantic character or anything like that to have strong opinions about, but I enjoyed it well enough. I thought it was.
Oh my gosh!
That was a good one. That was and it had an aftertaste to it as well.
Please stop.
Oh yeah, don't say things like that to your pregnant wife. It distracted me, threw me off. For what he is in the movie, I think he fits the movie well, but it's not like this great, amazing character by any means. Someone just asked me what I think about the end of Lethal Weapon. I haven't seen the end. I'm not caught up. I'm about 4 episodes from the end. She doesn't like the show, so I'm just behind. I'm normally behind on TV shows because there's a lot of stuff to watch.
Lee Modlin says that he loves hearing your wife fuss at you.
You know who that is, right?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I do.
It's about right. This is what we've been doing back in our previous life, doing live stuff too. It was kind of like this. Connor Muse as a $1 super chat. Excuse me, I don't even read that. No question.
So if you have
Am I missing something? If there's a question from Connor, please send it my way because I can see that you sent it, but I can't. There's not a question attached to it. So if you have a question, go ahead and let me see that.
Okay. Do you have any marriage advice?
Marriage advice? Don't. I obviously joke around a lot, and so I can have a sense of humor where I can say things, but don't ever publicly speak poorly of your spouse to other people. Don't confide in the opposite sex about your spouse. These are not good ideas. Find ways to use your words positively. I'm not good at that. That's something I'm very bad at. We'd have a much better marriage if I was good at that. So be aware of your weaknesses inside of things. Try to outserve one another. Try to compete to be the better spouse. To put them first. Continue to date. Continue to date your spouse. Just on real practical levels. Before you get married, make sure you're on the same page with money, job, ambition, future things, kids. Just a lot of it's going in, being on the same page and having proper expectations and pursuing each other. Actively dating each other, pursuing each other the way you did when you're dating. Do that when you're married. Makes things go a little bit better.
Connor sent in his question.
Connor, all right, sorry, what do we got?
What is your least favorite movie of all time?
So I get this one almost every time. My least favorite movie of all time is Alien 3. Because I love aliens. And where Aliens ends and Alien 3 picks up, they screw up backwards. it undoes the victory of the previous movie, and I hate the movie for that. And it's not a good enough movie to justify doing that. And I hate it when movies do that. And so that's the one that drives me nuts. Gamer Girl, you keep asking, have I been to Disney World? I answered at the beginning. I have been to Disney World. It was 25 years ago. It was amazing. But I got a picture with the Rocketeer. If you want to know,
awesome.
If you want to know how long ago it was, the Rocketeer was still like, hey, it's our big movie of the summer, the Rocketeer. And so I have a picture with me with the Rocketeer, and they even had like a wire on him, and he'd like fly up in the air, things like that. Daniel Walsh says, what's the most embarrassing moment of your life?
Ooh.
Oh, I know what, I know what the real answer is, but it's not a funny answer. I might talk about it in a week or two, but, what is the one that would be a good one? Most embarrassing.
I have to think about it.
I've done so much stuff publicly that there's so many potential things that I've done that have been embarrassing.
Well, and to be fair, some of your most embarrassing moments aren't initiated by you. Like the one that comes to mind is your first Christmas that we were dating.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, you definitely had a party.
So yeah, my first Christmas we were dating. My mom. It was right as I was kind of. As you grow up, the way you perceive the world kind of changes. And so when I was younger, I wanted lots of presents under the Christmas tree. And so and that's what my mom always did. And so this one Christmas we went into it, and my mom asked what I wanted for Christmas, and I asked for a bunch of different things. So then she gave me a bunch of different things, but it was all stupid stuff. And I was old enough that I didn't want stupid stuff anymore. And so I just put it in my closet. And I got a bunch of things. I just ended up putting them in my closet. And I was at an age where I didn't live at home. I had an apartment. I was going off to college. A bunch of things different happened. So stuff just sat in my closet. I never opened it, put it in my closet. Next Christmas, I learned from that. And I went, I'm not going to ask for 50 stupid things. I'm going to ask for 3 things I really want that I can't afford. And so I think I asked for the software Reason. Which for programming stuff, I did a lot of music back in the day. And so then I asked for Reason, several $100s. There was some software I needed for college. I asked for that. And so she only gave me 2 things. But my mom also likes to give me a bunch of presents because that's what she always did. That's why I wanted it.
And to clarify, the presents the previous year were stupid because of your taste. Not
yeah,
it
wasn't a fault on their part. Yeah. I told them, buy me a banjo. So they bought me a cheap, crappy banjo that didn't really work. But so I had a banjo. I was like, I don't know how to play the banjo, so I threw it in my closet. It's stuff like that. And so not a fault on them. Fault on me. And that's why it changed going in the next year. But all my mom saw was she bought me a bunch of stuff and put it in the closet. So Christmas rolls around the next year. I've only asked for 2 or 3 things. So my mom only bought me 2 or 3 things. But she wants me to have 20 things under the Christmas tree. So she goes into the closet and pulls everything out of the closet that wasn't open and rewraps it. So Christmas begins that year, and my sister's there, brother-in-law, all these people are there.
I got to miss this one.
And I open up the first present, and it's something I got the year before from my sister and brother-in-law that I hadn't opened. They bought me something. They spent their money, thought I think he will like this, and they give it to me. And I put it in my closet, and I didn't open it. There's other things that kind of happen. There's a full context to it. Open it up. And we have this moment where we're all looking at each other and like, didn't I get this last year? And then the family's like, yeah, I gave that to you last. And so awkward, so uncomfortable, like, ooh. And then I grabbed the next present, and my mom's like, that's another one from last year. And open it up, and it's just like the most uncomfortable set of moments you can imagine as we're opening things that people gave me, and it wasn't just the stuff from my mom; it was from everyone else. It was just horrible. Horrible. Awful. I felt bad. Everyone felt bad. That was a fun Christmas. And the 3 things they gave me were great. Like I used that software to program so much stuff. Loved it. The other part was not so great.
Another request to rank the Bond movies.
Yeah, people keep asking me to rank the Bond movies. The problem is I ranked the Daniel Craig ones, and it didn't really make a big splash. It did mildly okay for the point in time. But so if the Daniel Craig ones didn't make a big splash, what's the likelihood that if I do the Roger Moore movies, more people would have seen them and interacted? And so then it kind of turns into having to watch 21 movies to do a ranking that I don't know how much of a splash it's going to make. So whenever the new one comes out, that's probably when I'll end up doing it. When there's kind of a pointed moment where people are excited about James Bond movies. They want to talk about them. That's when I'll probably end up doing it, so it'll be a little bit. Lee Maudlin asked me, what's my favorite ska band? He asked that question because he knows I was in several ska bands. The Amazing Scosmonauts and then Lake City Divide did some music using some of those recorded with that software I just talked about. Favorite ska band would be one from Austin called The Impossibles from 20 years ago. And that's my favorite ska band of all time. The Impossibles from 20 years ago. And they came back and they've released some other things at different points in time. But in the 90s, they were a ska band. That's my favorite. There's some some Less Than Jake that I love, some Five Iron French that I love, but The Impossibles from 20 years ago.
What do you think about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I don't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I watched the first 12 episodes. I tried to like it. Really tried to like it. But, yeah, it just never worked for me. So people tell me it gets better as it goes along, but I never was able to fully go along in all the directions with it, unfortunately. So maybe someday I'll catch up on it. Because people always ask me, rank the seasons, work it in with your Marvel Netflix rankings. I just haven't seen it. So maybe someday.
So I feel like this one kind of ties in naturally to that one. Why is killing off all your faves only to reboot them in the next film a cynical cheat by Marvel? I think you said that, and so
I said that?
That it was a cynical cheat to bring back to kill them and bring it back. You didn't say that?
What are they talking about?
This is the question. Forget everything I just said. Why is killing off all your faves only to reboot them in the next film a cynical cheat by Marvel?
I mean, I assume that's talking about a certain hit movie that came out a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say that was cynical cheat. I totally dug that movie. And that's assuming a lot of things. There's a bunch of other possibilities that people didn't die at the end, that perhaps they're inside of a certain stone. And that's how they come back. It's not that they actually died, and everyone that told me I was wrong on my video on Who's Gonna Die in Infinity War was wrong. I just don't see it that way. Like, to tell it, it's not cynical, because why would it? I don't understand why it would be cynical, since we're trying to stop him. They've worked the pieces in with time travel and elements so people can be saved. I just don't. I don't view it as cynical, so again, really, I'd have to know what the reason was for saying it's cynical, because I dug it.
Well, you're cynical.
I am cynical.
Superman versus Hulk, who would win?
Superman, because he has more powers and he can pick up Hulk, throw him into space. Then what does Hulk do?
Swims. That'd be like the most anticlimactic battle ever.
I mean, they're punching. Superman just flies up. That's the sun right there. If he misses, so what? He's floating in space.
Why doesn't he do that with every villain?
Exactly.
Sorry. Deadpool 2 or Solo?
I think Deadpool 2 is a little bit more entertaining. Has a few more story issues, I'd say, but a little bit more stronger entertainment value. I had a number of issues with Deadpool 2 coming out of it, but it was also a movie, like, as the week went on, it sat well with me. I listened to that Celine Dion song about 100 times this last week, because it's so good. And the things that I loved in that movie are more what I thought about than the negative things. Stuff to say, I watched Solo a second time and I noticed negative things probably a little bit more, but that's because I had kids with me. And so then when it slowed down, you noticed it slowed down because kids are wiggling. I just pulled this arm.
I was wondering.
It's like, where did that come from? Like they, wiggling around and stuff. So it noticed things a little bit more. So
I think we need to get you a new chair.
Yeah.
Did you prefer Solo or Rogue One?
Based on my ranking from yesterday, Rogue One. We'll see where time lands on these things. I think on first impressions, Rogue One has a few more obvious kind of story issues. There's a little bit more obvious that there was some director stuff that went on with it. The first half's pretty clunky, but it ends really well. Like, it's a movie that lands the ship so well. And you feel satisfied at the end of that movie, or I did. Solo is a movie that was everything about it, conceptually, production, even director, that the choice they ended up with just felt very safe. And it delivered on being a safe, fun adventure in this universe. So one's a little bit more broken, one's a little bit more safe. Rogue One, I'd put a little bit over it. Favorite M. Night movie would be Unbreakable.
Let's see. Sorry, what's your favorite Jaws movie?
Is there a different answer? Like, who picks anything other than Jaws 1? Who is that person? I just don't know who does that.
I wouldn't do that even, but I do love all of them, just differently.
You haven't watched Jaws 4 in 10 years.
That's not true.
You watched Jaws: The Revenge on your when?
In the last, I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but I totally watched it.
You watched Jaws.
It was probably right after the Blu-ray release. I watched all 4 of them. When they released Jaws 1 on Blu-ray, we got it at Best Buy, and then I think I watched all 4 of them. I'm not going to subject you to that. That would be no fun for anyone.
That's. I mean, when Meg comes out, we're going to rewatch all 4 of them.
Really?
We might watch and review all 4 of them leading up to Meg, certainly for a ranking.
Ever. I'm excited. Have you been to the UK?
No, I've been to Mexico a bunch of times because I'm in Texas, and then my grandma was in Arizona. I've been to Canada for 45 minutes, but we went to French Canada, not knowing it was French Canada, and we don't speak French. So we were touring New England, and we're up there for about 6 weeks, just up there, just driving around, going to New York City and Boston and everything. And we were like, hey, we're only 30 minutes away from Canada. Let's drive up there. And we drove up, and we're like, we probably shouldn't stay here too long. So we came back down. Been to the Navajo Nation 5 times. It's inside the United States, but it's kind of its own deal. 5 times and doing mission work there. And then I've been to Hong Kong for a week when I was in the 5th grade. And then we went on the same cruise 2 different times, 2 summers in a row, because family members paid to take us, and my mom was competitive. And so the next summer, she took us on the same cruise. So we went to Jamaica, Cozumel, and... it made a huge impact on us, obviously. Cozumel... Cayman Islands. That's
terrible that we both just blanked.
Where did we go?
Is John Wick any good?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's one of those questions that it's one of those movies that the internet praises so much that I don't know where the question's coming from to need to ask, because everyone. I mean, the action choreography in it is probably the best action choreography of any wide released action movie the last 10 years or so. I mean, it's some of the absolute best of an American made action for quite a while. It's a straightforward action movie that feels a little bit like something would have come out before, which makes it seem fresh. But it does a lot of great world building. Is really kind of what, between the great action and then the world building that makes you like, oh, this world of the Continental and this code of honor between these assassins. Just it's so much better than the basic premise makes it seem. And it might be the best performance that Keanu Reeves has ever given.
I would agree. I haven't even seen the movie, and I probably agree.
You've seen John Wick. You haven't seen John Wick 2.
I just pretend that they don't exist because they make me sad.
His dog doesn't die in the second one.
But his wife and his dog are still dead in the second one.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Hunger Games movie?
2. Catching Fire. Probably by a good bit, too.
Will you ever do reviews of horror franchises and rank them?
I did that with Scream. So I did the Scream movies. I'll definitely rank horror movies. Friday the 13th. I plan on doing Friday the 13th. Maybe another one this October. I'll definitely update my Halloween ranking. I plan on doing The Purge in July. Actually doing full kind of reviews of them leading up to something. Possibly. I'm not opposed to it. It just kind of depends on where the schedule looks like. I don't do a lot. Me reviewing movies leading up to a franchise is a new thing. I started with in January for leading up to Infinity War. Starting with Jurassic Park, tomorrow's only the second one I've ever done. So I'm kind of figuring out as I go along. So it's very possible that I'll do some things, especially when you get to like some of the fall seasons and stuff where just the releases just quality drops substantially. And so right now I'm just kind of like, all these big blockbusters are coming out, so there's tons of content, just big franchises. But as I hit the fall, I'll probably be much more of a lull where I'll have a window to potentially do something like that. Ugh.
Easy there.
If you guys are new to my live streams, a common recurring theme is the longer I talk, the itchier my nose gets.
It's about an hour.
Yeah, right at an hour, my nose just loses it and starts itching like crazy.
And that's always super funny. I thought this was funny. People kept asking about your favorite movie, and this was before I could comment and before I'd switched over, and so someone commented on your behalf. Everybody who asks for his favorite movie, here is your answer. Star Wars. Well, he likes Empire Strikes Back the most, so there's your answer. And just go watch his top 10 best movies.
That is correct. I'll add that to that a little bit. So my place in the universe right now, I'm most famous for ranking things, which is to say picking favorites, picking least favorites. Which is ironic because I do not like picking favorites at all. I do not like. What's your favorite movie? I don't want to tell you. I don't want to give you an answer because I change a lot. I shift very quickly in my preferences towards things, and I think differently about them at a very quick pace. So I don't really have a favorite movie. If you say Empire Strikes Back because Star Wars in general, and then that's the one I have at my top rank, that's true. But it doesn't, at the same time, I don't feel right in answering that. Like, that doesn't feel like my answer at the same time. So, like, Raiders would be way up there. Die Hard's way up there. I'd much rather watch my top 10 favorites list and take that more as a fluid, those 10 cycle into my top 10. Someone asked me if I would rank the Mission Impossible movies. My current plan is once I finish reviewing the Jurassic Park movies, as soon as Jurassic World 2 comes out, that Monday, I will re-review all the Mission Impossible movies and then rank them after the 6th one comes out. That's the plan. So, to answer your question, I'm going to do that. And more so than you're asking, I'm going to re-review all the movies, assuming the Jurassic Park movies don't utterly fail as reviews.
Why do you feel like they're not advertising Mission Impossible very much? Like, I think they've only had 2 trailers or something?
Yeah, they've only had 2 trailers. It's a tough question because, in the one sense, it's not like they're hiding it. It's not like they're not advertising it. They're just not saturating marketing it. And some of that, I think, is that the Mission Impossible franchise, it's not a billion-dollar franchise. They're not movies that make comic book. They don't make Marvel money. They don't make Star Wars money. Well, they make solo Star Wars money. That's actually not even true. None of them have opened as big as Solo's going to open, which is kind of funny because the way we talk about movies in Solo, it only made $80 million. $80 million for most franchises is pretty great. But in the case of Star Wars, it's not so great.
What is our time at right now?
We are at 1 hour and 32 minutes.
That's all right. Just checking. Sorry. I can't see it online.
That's why my nose is itching so badly.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So in which case, they're not going to market it as much. It's not a movie that needs to market at a level towards it. They don't make that much money. So I think that's a big piece to why it feels like it's not marketed as much. It's more targeted marketing. The trailers are out there. And then when we get a little closer, it'll probably get a lot more concentrated. Because you think right now, if they put out... Why would you put out a trailer in April for Mission Impossible when you're going to be competing against Infinity War, Deadpool 2, Solo, Jurassic World, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Credibles 2. That's a lot of competition. So you wait until 5 of those are out of the way, and you're 1 month away from your movie release, and then you drop, hey, look, Tom Cruise is going to punch Superman in the face. It'll be awesome. That's my answer.
I don't want to lose your love tonight. What's your favorite 80s song?
Going back to I don't like to pick favorites. I have no clue. I couldn't give you an answer. Music in particular, I do not have favorites. And I don't like having to pick favorites. Other than John Williams. John Williams is the best movie composer. He's in a category in and of himself, in Sean's mind.
On that note, what is your all-time favorite movie score, like Star Wars, and your favorite movie soundtrack, like Baby Driver?
So on the last question, who are some of my 80s ones?
I was just thinking about Back to the Future.
That's a score, though. Did they ask for score or song?
Both. What is your all-time favorite movie score and your favorite movie soundtrack?
No, the question before that.
Oh, the favorite, that was your favorite 80s song.
Yeah, it was. That's what before we move on, I can give them something. There's so many directions I can go that I just don't even know what.
I was like Back in Time or something like that. I don't know.
No. Huey Lewis and the News is Back in Time? No. I mean, it's a good song, but it's not even top 100.
I can't help you. My brain doesn't work like
Yeah, we can't come with anything. I mean, I'm going with like "Living on a Prayer" is a good one, but like I would hate to say that's my favorite song of the '80s because there's
That's a good choice.
and the '80s have so many great songs, and so you could
Lots of ballads.
Yeah, lots of ballads that I love. Yeah, to say that there's several '80s playlists on Apple Music, I wouldn't put Take on Me.
Well, someone just said it. I was like, that's
Okay.
a good one.
Gamer Girl asks, does Sean have any brothers? Yes, he's 51. So I don't know if you're. Sometimes I've been told in the past because a girl asked me once, if I had a brother. I found out afterwards that meant she liked me. In this situation, my brother's in his 50s, so just so you know, and looks.
And that might not be what it means in this case, but
I'm always gonna operate for the assumption it means what that means because I apparently wasn't picking up on clues.
you were not.
I was enough. But yeah, he's in his 50s, been married for 20 years, and has multiple. I'm being difficult. Obviously being difficult. But he doesn't look like me, and he's a lot stronger than me. He's a very strong human being. But favorite movie soundtrack? I wouldn't go Back to the Future. It's great. It's probably top 5, top 10.
I thought you were asking me.
So that would definitely be in the top. It's in the top there. I'd probably go. It's a tough one because when you have John Williams has done probably 20 perfect scores, where you would just kind of go, "What's the best score of this genre?" And every genre, it's John Williams in Sean's mind. I think I would go Superman. I think I would go Superman the motion picture.
That makes sense.
There's a lot, just all the little pieces, and even just like the music of Krypton. Just there's so many brilliant pieces. But then you think, Empire Strikes Back. How many brilliant pieces of music there are in that one? I just think that when Yoda picks up the X-Wing, the music played there, and when the Millennium Falcon is flying through the asteroid field, just music that so perfectly captures those moments. And we're not even talking about the Imperial March yet. We're not even talking about the Han and Leia new romance theme for them. So there's so many different directions you can go. Favorite soundtrack? I can't think of all time. Last 10 years, it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. That's pretty easy.
That's a good one.
Of all time, there's a lot of really good ones back in the day. There used to be a lot more prevalent that you'd have these themed songs and stuff like that. So it's tough. Growing up, I listened to the actual vinyl record on a spinning table of the soundtrack to Top Gun and Rocky IV a lot.
Oh, sorry. Do you like video games?
YouTube boy is hitting on you.
He is not.
Is it because he's a boy and so you're assuming the best of him?
I assume the best of all people.
Okay, sorry, what was the question?
Do you like video games?
Yeah, I like video. I'm not really a gamer just because I'm busy in life. And so I tend to have like a game that I lock in on and I'll play it a lot. Right now, we're in a weird transition phase in life as my boy that was a toddler when he was a toddler is now a boy that can play games. So he's very into video games, which means we're having to we have to draw that line to get him to stop playing them so much. But what that means is that that's now a thing that we can do together. And so as of recently, I played a lot of Battlefront 2, a lot of it, and done a little bit of Fortnite. Just picked that one up. Some of you guys have been around in my live streams for the last couple of months. You know that Fortnite's been a topic. I am on Fortnite. Kirk Never Died is my name. On both Battlefront 2 and Fortnite. Kirk Never Died. So that's one. The next game I want to buy is Arkham Knight, Batman Arkham Knight. I'm going to play that one and then rank the Arkham games. Now, because I would have played all of the main games in the series once I do that one.
Do you like Hacksaw Ridge?
Yeah, I dug it. I didn't see it when it first came out. I was a little bit... I saw it at the Dollar Theater, actually. And I thought it was a really good movie. Big Mel Gibson fan, and as a director, he does great, very intense stuff. So,
do you like Body Swap?
Sounds creepy.
I didn't know if it was like a movie or if it was a concept, like Freaky Friday. Or
I don't know what Body Swap is. I keep seeing Les Mis pop up in there. More important than the 2012 movie, back when I did this trip that I talked about, where I went to New England up to Canada, we went to the city of New York.
This was a question earlier. Your favorite Broadway play?
Went to New York City for one day, and not by my choosing, but because I have an older sister. She's actually really active in the chat room or the comment section of a lot of my videos. She convinced my mother to take us to a Broadway play. It was Les Mis. So I saw, my first introduction to Les Mis was as a boy between the grades 7 and 8 watching Les Mis on Broadway. And so that's my point of reference for Les Mis. And then I actually saw the movie at a press screening about 2-3 weeks before it came out. So I saw it at that. And did you go to that with me?
Oh, yes.
So what did you have to say about it?
Mine's tainted, might be the right word. It was right after the Sandy Hook shooting. And so I had a hard time processing Les Mis after that because it was...
That took a real heavy, dark...
I know, it was a dark time. You asked
All right, I'll tell you. I dug it. I mean, it's not really my kind of movie. As per the type of content I talk about that I naturally gravitate towards, tragedy musicals isn't like what does Sean love? Tragedy musicals. That's not what I would normally gravitate towards. But as a movie, just some of the acting in it is just crazy good because it's not just acting, it's singing acting, which is very impressive in these long takes of just their faces. And so I really dug it. And it introduced me to Eddie Redmayne. I watched it. I remember thinking, "Who is this delightful redheaded fellow?" And then he turned into Eddie Redmayne and has been famous ever since then.
Do you think we'll ever see Venom in the current Spider-Man franchise?
I mean, they're pretty unclear as to whether Venom the movie is how connected it is. They haven't given a real clear answer to that question. So in light of that, I would say, let's wait until Venom comes out, and then we'll have a much better idea. It's hard to think that you'd start off a new Spider-Man franchise without plans to do Venom. That seems like a weird thing that you wouldn't see Venom in it, assuming it's going to be successful and run for a while.
On that note, are you looking forward to the Venom movie?
Not based on the trailers. The trailers, I'm not getting what they're doing. That it's a comic book movie, I'm interested. That it's a comic book movie associated with Spider-Man, I'm interested. Tom Hardy, I'm interested. The trailers themselves, I'm not seeing what they're going for.
Did you like Star-Lord in Infinity War? Did you think he was justified, or was he stupid?
The movie writes him as very insecure. Mm-hmm. And especially with the way the movie fully plays out, by making the big joke at the beginning of the movie that he's insecure about being around Thor, and then you follow that up with he's stupid and loses his cool over and can't wait. Like, I just have to punch Thanos right now. I can't wait 30 seconds till the gauntlet's off. The movie puts him in a really bad light. I think they've kind of made very bad choices with Star-Lord in Guardians Volume 2 and then Infinity War. I mean, was he justified in punching Thanos in the face when they're about to stop him from killing half the universe? No, because he punched him in the face and they failed because of that. All right, what do we got?
Snapchat from Connor.
Snapchat? Wow, you're on Snapchat.
Dang it. Super chat. How many movies do you think you've seen roughly?
Man, that's so. I've actually been counting the number of movies I've seen this year, and it's about 130 right now.
Holy cow!
And that's all movies at home, movies I've seen before. But I'm not counting movies I've watched multiple times. So I've seen Greatest Showman 3 times this year, or something like that. I've seen Infinity War 2 times. What's some of the kids watch? Movie kids watch a lot. I've seen Jumanji and Zathura 5 times this year. They're only kind of one time in that 130. So if you start doing that math, about 100 new movies every year or something like that times my age gets you to 2,700 movies. That's not how the math works. I mean, it's probably 3,000, 4,000 movies. But I don't know. I've got Leonard Maltin's movie guide, and I've tried to go through it many times and mark all the movies I've seen. And when you do that, you realize how many you haven't seen. And you go, wow, there's so many movies I haven't seen, so it's...
Both Jumanjis. They said which Jumanji?
Oh yeah,
the original.
Yeah, and that's the trilogy of them. That's Zathura being it's not really a part of it, but it is kind of a part of it. All 3 of them they've watched a lot.
A lot.
Do I think Daredevil will be in Avengers 4? No, there's a 0% chance. I'd be down for it. Well, no, I wouldn't be down for it. That was a lie.
Thoughts on Killing Joke live action movie?
There's not enough source material for it to work. It's short, and that's why when they did even one of these hour and 10-minute long animated movies of it, half of it is this abysmal prologue about Batgirl and Batman boinking on top of a building, and while she then the next day goes to talk to her gay roommate about her boss who she's in love with. I mean, just on every level, it's like, how did this get approved? But anyways, the reason that they put this prologue on it because there's not enough source material. It's a very short, simple story that there's. It does. I just don't think it works in that format. It's designed to be this quick little read and exploration. So I think you can adapt elements to it, but I think it even as adapting it, it works better if you need the background, you need to develop the world, which that requires several more movies to make it happen. It's not like, let's just do the Killing Joke right now, which once again, that's what they did with this animated movie, and it didn't work well.
Do you think Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is overrated?
I think she's great in it, but yeah, because people talk about. There's always these actresses that just people kind of get enamored with at different points in time, and there's not as great as what she did was. It's not like I have any specific criticisms of it. It's not like you watched it and you thought no one else could do that. How could anyone else do what she's doing? No, you watch it and you went, yeah, that's Harley Quinn type strange behavior. But it's just simply not this kind of performance that's out there just blowing your mind with all the elements to it. So that's where I struggle to think about it as in that sense, I think it's overrated. In that you can think. Here's when you think Iron Man, when you think Tony Stark, you have a hard time thinking of anyone but Robert Downey Jr. right now, right?
Yes.
That was a short answer. He's so good, and to some extent, like Chris Evans, he so plays this straight arrow. Perfect. He does it so well. Harley Quinn, she did a great job, but it wasn't distinctly Margot Robbie that seemed to be, wow, she's I don't know if that's clear or not.
I think it was hyped at the beginning. I think the excitement for Harley Quinn and Joker and the Suicide Squad was front loaded, and so there was a bunch of enthusiasm about specifically Harley Quinn. And then, she was insane and did a good job of being crazy.
Yeah.
But I think it's tapered down
a little bit. Even it says to draw a comparison in the Batman universe. When Michelle Pfeiffer was Catwoman, people went bonkers about it. Like, how could anyone ever be Catwoman after what she did? And if you watch her performance in Batman Returns, I think there's a much more of a performance that she's just playing this crazy person that you're seeing her on screen more so than Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Gross. Oh,
Excuse
someone
me.
wanted to know why you drank so many sodas. Oh, that was a good question.
To keep my weight up, of course.
Oh my gosh. All right. What is your personal views on what to do with a large movie franchise? Would you rather have a franchise end like Lord of the Rings or have constant spin-offs like Star Wars?
It's tough to... Well, they are continuing Lord of the Rings with this Amazon series, but it's tough to say exactly because Lord of the Rings is a story. Star Wars is a universe. And that's kind of the difference in some of these things. Where you talk about Batman. Batman's a character in a universe. It's not a specific story. Killing Joke is a story. And that's where it all depends on what we're talking about. I think they've been I was about to say they've been very smart with the Lord of the Rings franchise, but then there's 3 Hobbit movies when there should have been 1 or 2. But they haven't just milked the Lord of the Rings franchise yet. They've been, here's a series of books, we'll adapt these. Here's another book, we'll adapt these. And they haven't just milked it and tried to throw a ton of stuff out there. Whereas with Star Wars, you're seeing like with Solo and its performance, it seems a little bit like they're trying too hard to put too many stories out there. I don't think it's bad that they're doing spin-offs. I don't think it's bad that they continue to do episodes. But as soon as the audience feels like you're just trying to crank things out, this is a cash grab, you're in trouble. Star Wars, it feels like that. Right now. At this moment, it feels like that. Oh, sorry, everyone.
Can I suggest 7 minutes?
7 more minutes. So if you definitely want me to answer your question, do a super chat.
I have questions.
She got some questions and all sorts of different things. Sean's nose is a...
Okay, your nose, and we gotta get ready for the wedding.
Yeah, we're gonna go get married tonight.
We're already married.
Oh, that's right. We got married a while ago. What, 4 years ago? Back on... 2 years ago, because I'm only 27 in this live event.
You're hilarious. So funny.
One of my former interns is actually getting married, so that's pretty exciting.
Yes. Thoughts on the Social Network?
Oh, actually, even more fun to tell. I've told this story before about one of the reasons Guardians of the Galaxy is so like special place in my heart. I took my interns to go see it, and then we went on one of these trips to the Navajo Nation the next day. This is one of those interns, and she's the one that I called a green whore, and so we still got invited to her wedding, so apparently it wasn't too offensive.
I think I fixed that for you.
How could she? She saw the movie. She knew I was quoting the movie. She knew it was just a joke.
So thoughts on the Social Network?
I keep asking about that.
I know.
I dig it. I bought it like a month ago. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I need to rewatch it to have deeper thoughts than that. Hopefully, I'm going to do that soon so I can rank the David Fincher movies. It's an Aaron Sorkin one, so I was on a bit of an Aaron Sorkin kick because I went through his master class a couple months back, and then I lost steam on that one, and we got into the season, was too busy, so I haven't rewatched it. So I don't have deep thoughts for you. I'm sorry.
Thoughts on Birdman?
Very cool cinematic achievement. I dug it the one time I saw it. It's not a movie I've wanted to rewatch, and probably pretty pretentious. Very much a movie for Hollywood people to kind of pat themselves on the back, and so that's some of that stuff getting a little bit distasteful for me. But very well made movie, great performances, and just on a technical level with a single thought, pretty cool stuff.
Did you do a review for The Room?
Always have, always will. Yes, I have a review up for The Room. That was the first time I ever watched it. We talked about
this.
That's
right. I'm sorry.
First time I ever watched The Room was to review it for my channel.
That's right.
One of my patrons requested I do it. He's like, "You got to watch this movie. If you haven't seen this, you have to watch it." And so I was watching it. She walks in and she's like, "What is this? Like, you're watching the worst movie ever." And then she like sits down, like becomes enamored with it and watches it. Like this is incredible. Whatever this is.
Thoughts on Teen Titans Go?
Another one my kids like that we tried to get them to not like. They watched The Night Begins to Shine in a hotel room back in December for another wedding we were at, and so then they became kind of obsessed with that one. So yeah, I don't know. It's very juvenile stuff that my kids like that I don't necessarily want them to get more into fart jokes.
At the same time, though, you've put it on for them multiple times, and it's like a thing that y'all watch when I'm not around.
No, we put Teen Titans Go on when we barbecue outside. That's our thing, is that whenever we do cook the hot dogs on the barbecue, I take my laptop outside and they watch Teen Titans Go on there while we roast hot dogs. It's like a family thing that you avoid us. What do we got?
Super chat, not
Super
Snapchat.
chat.
From Connor, I think we said Muse. Yay, David Fincher ranked. And what's your favorite genre?
Hopefully David Fincher ranked. I'm trying to make it happen. Favorite genre? It's picking favorites again. I don't know what you go. That's a tough one. Because I keep thinking... Probably sci-fi action, but then I can think of just action. Then you get comic book movies. It's so tough because there's such broad categories where there's, if you think through the sci-fi, action, and comic book movies, amongst all that, there's so many movies that I love. That encompasses so much, and I don't know that I could pick one over the other because there's so many things in there that all of them that I love too much to be able to pick.
Did you address, I know you talked about your, oh no, you already addressed that, I'm sorry. Do you think The Dark Avengers would be a good MCU movie?
I don't know enough about it to be able to say, as they progress through different storylines, I think everything kind of is on the table of potential things that could make for a good story. They've proven they are good storytellers. They are good movie makers. So all the potential source material could potentially be good. They've demonstrated that. Whereas DCU has great source material and struggles to make a good movie. The MCU can take talking trees and raccoons and make it into great movies that the masses love. If you can do that, you can do just about anything.
I'm sorry, somebody's being wildly inappropriate. What celebrity death gutted you the most?
Celebrity death that gutted me the most. I don't know. What do you think? Whenever William Shatner dies, that'll be a big one. Probably when Clint Eastwood dies, that'll be a big one.
Leonard Nimoy.
I don't feel that one hit me too much because I was that was my line of thinking that kind of got me to William Shatner. But you think like when a Harrison Ford dies, that would be a big one. There's not an obvious one that was just immediately like comes to mind as. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I can't do it.
No, let's make sure it's the right one.
Hold on. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, we're trying to block him. Just remove.
I can't see your screen.
Yeah, it's giving me the same error that I was getting on other stuff.
Right, that's why I was.
Wanted content, hate speech. Thank you for fine content. Okay, so sorry about that. That we're trying to block the guy. Best I can. Yeah, it's the same error.
So back to the death. We'll just wrap it up after this one.
Okay.
Did you figure out the one that gutted you the most?
No. You have to have another question for me.
Oh. Did you finish your answer for that one?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Then I was trying to block the guy.
Yes. Oh, so someone no Robin Williams, Anton Yelkin, or Alan Rickman.
I mean, they're all hard. They're no pleasant. I mean, but
right.
It's the ones that like it's those people that are like you held that specifically kind of close to. Like I grew up watching Robin Williams movies and Mork and Mindy and things like that, and so it was heavy and hard, especially because of the context of it. You know, Hans Gruber's the greatest action movie villain of all time, so Alan Rickman, that was huge. But at the same time, they weren't people in particular that were personalities that I had whatever you have those celebrities that we feel kind of a connection to, even though we've never met them or something like that.
Paul Walker.
Sorry. for whatever reason, those wouldn't be the ones that would come to mind. The people I mentioned that when something happens that it'll hit. Super chat.
If I can find it again. Should the DCEU wait to do Darkseid?
Yes, because they need to figure out their what they're doing. They need to fix the DCEU before we get to doing Darkseid. Whereas, MCU, everything's working. Infinity War comes out. Thanos is the best ever. All that huge praise, tons of money. Flip side to that, DCEU struggling across. I mean, they just don't have traction, and you don't want to waste one of these big iconic villains when you are struggling like that.
Do you want one more?
Sakura said, should DC make a Deathstroke movie? I'd be game for it, especially Joe Manganiello. I think he's a good fit. Big guy, athletic. So I could be down for it. Especially, I think they mentioned the Raid guy. Well, didn't they mention the Raid guy doing it? And I think that's a great pick because he's a physical character, martial arts, stuff like that. Mix that with the guys that did the Raid. Great lineup. Popo asks, how about solo box office? I think I'm going to do a video about that on Tuesday. One final one from you.
Okay. Who will be the next member to join the Avengers? If you have any thoughts, who do you think the next leader of the team will be?
Who will be the next leader of the Avengers, assuming Steve and Iron Man are going bye-bye?
I suppose.
Captain Marvel. Does that work for you?
I don't know.
It's tough to say because there's so many different directions things could go. So the people we've added because we've added Black Panther into the mix, he's an obvious choice to lead it, but he's got a thing he's already leading. So I don't know if you'd put him over the Avengers if he's already the king over here. So, and then Doctor Strange doesn't seem like a leader.
No.
Peter's too young. So it's a little tough. Maybe Captain Marvel or Reed Richards when the Fantastic Four comes into the mix. Boom! That's it?
Well, we have a million.
Or
we
are you trying to...
day.
Are you saying you're going to kill me?
No, I'm not saying I'm going to kill you.
I think you kept...
I am not threatening you.
I'm going to...
I'm not.
You're just saying to end it.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm understanding. You're not going to kill me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. 2 hours. We literally said 45 minutes, and we were over 2 hours. Classic. That's what we do. So we got to get to a wedding. Got to shower, bathe, all sorts of stuff. I need to shoot my Jurassic Park review that drops tomorrow morning. Tune in tomorrow for that Jurassic Park review. Train Kid trying to make things gross at the end of this deal. Very nice, fun. Why? Thank you guys so much for tuning in for all this fun stuff. Might be back next week or sometime soon. We're trying to do these every single week because they're always a ton of fun.
We're going to try to get better about our time.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Thank you.